and I'm going to hand over to Nicola. Thanks, Nicola.
Hi, hello everybody, and thank you for coming along. Yeah, I have got some slides. I've also got a video done by a friend of ours, Dr. Jessica Barker, who did a really great phishing campaign for the NHS and other people like that, which I'm hopefully going to be able to share with you, technology permitting. So I'm going to use some slides because there's a lot of information that I want to share with you, and I can't go into everything because some of it's not going to be relevant for you and some of it's going to be dependent on your system. So it's going to be an overview that you can unpack later, either yourselves or with the relevant people and network managers and folks like that in your networks. So let me just see if hopefully this screen sharing will work. Just bear with me. Okay, so I'm hoping you can now see the presentation. Is that, can you see that, Olivia? Right. So this is basically a talk about COVID-19 and some of the current fraud things that are happening. So just so you know who I am, I'm the Chief Strategy Officer of Titania. I've done quite a lot of work in AI and network management and things like that. And I speak a lot on risk in security, which is what led me to be the Cyber Citizen of the Year. Do a lot of work with diversity as well, and was very, very fortunate, although it did give me COVID, to go to the Palace and get an MBE in the New Year's Honours for the work I do with the international trade boards and in diversity in our industry. So the reason I raised that for this is within minutes of me getting the MBE and changing my Twitter profile, as you can see there, my account was spoofed. So I don't know whether you can see that, but there's quite a lot of information on there where it's very, very similar. So my actual account is the one that says I was born the 6th of July 1971, and the spoof account, the MBE Whiting one, you can see it says joined December 2019. So a lot of these spoofers have actual accounts ready to change the information on. So it's created within hours of this. It actually lured very intelligent people. I mean, a lot of my contacts and friends are cybersecurity professionals, so they know exactly what to look for. But they were expecting me to do something like this. They expected me to maybe change my details because it was exciting. So some of those people that were InfoSec pros quickly followed because their guard was down because they thought it was me. It actually took a lot of days and multiple efforts and reporting to remove this. Now, the reason I share this is essentially that's exactly the sort of thing that a spoof or attacker might do if they were going to impersonate one of your team. So they're going to get to know who you are. It's much more likely that if somebody's going to target you now, they're going to do a little bit of basic research. And as you can see, with the kind of profiles people have now on the internet, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, it's actually not that difficult to find information about who you are that might convince somebody that knows you when they're doing a very quick look at something that it's you. Yeah. So social engineers are trying to get you to a yes. And the reason that they want to do that is they want to take you into doing some kind of action, whether it's following an account, like my social media account that they could then message people on and get them to maybe click things, or whether it's convincing one of your accounts team that there's a payment that needs to be made to an impersonated bank account. Whatever it might be, they're trying to get you to say yes to something. Now, this is where I'm hoping I'll be able to show you a video. If I can't, then I'll walk you through it, and hopefully I can then ask you to review that later. So if you can't see this video, the people that you need to look at or search on Google is Cygenta, C-Y-G-E-N-T-A. And if you put in phishing, you should come across this video. It's on the Cygenta website. And this was done by Dr. Jessica Barker. So I'm really, really hoping that I can share this. Might need some technical support here. So yeah, don't know whether this is going to work. Share screen. Okay, so you might have to tell me if you can't see this, but I'm hoping you can.
It's important that we talk about social engineering in light of COVID-19 because we've seen a huge rise in scams over the last few weeks that are seeking to exploit the crisis that we're facing. Cybercriminals always, unfortunately, seek to take advantage of a crisis, and this has certainly been true with COVID-19. The big red flag when it comes to social engineering is when you receive a communication that you're not expecting and it makes you feel emotional. So if you have a strong emotional response to a phone call, a WhatsApp message, a text, an email, whatever it is, if it makes you feel really emotional and you're not expecting it, that's something to be wary of. We're seeing a huge number of scams out there trying to take advantage of COVID-19 and the crisis surrounding it. For example, we've seen cyber criminals trying to prey on the feeling we have of wanting to help, of concern, with an email that looks like it comes from the World Health Organization asking for donations. We've seen cyber criminals trying to take advantage of our concerns about finances at the moment, people losing their jobs, worried about money. So we're seeing fake messages that look like they come from the supermarket Morrison's with a special offer, with a goodwill payment. We're seeing emails coming in all the time that look like they're legitimate, offering links for masks, for tests, for information about the cure, trying to take advantage of this general worry and fear that we all experience at the moment. To better protect yourselves from social engineering, the first thing people need to do is be aware of messages that are coming in, whether they're emails, whether they're WhatsApp messages, whether they're on social media or phone calls, whatever it may be. If it's unexpected and it makes you feel emotional, step away from that communication, go to a trusted source and verify it. For example, an email that looks like it comes from your bank, go to the legitimate bank website and see if there's a communication on there that actually matches the email. Do your correspondence through that legitimate website rather than clicking on any links or engaging with the email or the message itself.
Great. So that was a message from Dr. Jessica Barker, who is one of the world's experts in social engineering. She talks at a lot of conferences on that very subject. So the reason I wanted to share that with you is Dr. Barker has been very, very kind in saying that that video can actually be used to share with your teams. So that would be exceptionally useful in terms of educating them on what to look at and what things the attackers might be trying to do, i.e. get you to have an emotional response. So essentially, when you're looking at fraud, you're looking at marketing done by cyber criminals. And what they're trying to do is make their message to you enticing. And Dr. Barker mentioned some of those things like offers from Morrison's, play on your fears of COVID and things like that. They're trying to make it believable. So if they're impersonating HMRC, they'll use the same sort of text HMRC would use. They're trying to make it easy to action. So it's just a click away, the information that you want. And they're trying to give you some kind of reward, whether it's informational or financial. So marketing and fraud play on all of the same things that you essentially want to be able to use to educate your team to not take those actions. And that's where things like that video are really, really helpful because it's simple and engaging. So in terms of an additional layer of the kind of risks and scams that are currently out there that we've seen. So one of the things would be employee impersonation. So people are on furlough. Do your team know who all the people are that are on furlough? So if they're not expecting an email from somebody, they're aware that that person isn't working at the moment. Account switching. I know personally of somebody that actually works for a kitchen company. So they're not fitting kitchens at the moment, obviously, because of the sort of social distancing, but some of those bill payments are still going through. So they actually contacted somebody, a criminal contacted somebody that had recently had a kitchen fitted and sent them a fake invoice with a bank account. And actually they lost £10,000, the company did, because it was paid to the criminals. So that kind of becoming in the middle of the actual authentic person that deserves a payment and the payee, your client or somebody like that, is a common way of scamming people. Another thing that is definite clickbait at the moment is information on COVID. People want to know when a vaccine might be found. They want to know if the lockdown might be lifted. So getting emails that purport to be from WHO or somebody like that, where the information might be relevant to you or your family, is very tempting. Fake personal protection equipment, that's another one. There's about £2 million worth of scams that, to date, that have leveraged this, with people looking for masks, people looking for barriers, things like that. And obviously when soap was in scarce demand. So that's the sort of thing. This one is just truly nefarious. So infection or death announcements. If you are on Facebook, people can easily see what kind of relatives you have, who you're connected to. If you received an email potentially from a hospital or somebody you believe might be a hospital saying a relative or a close colleague was infected and that they had information on that, it's very, very tempting to do that. And death announcements are another one that these criminals are actually taking advantage of. They're saying people have died. That is really, really despicable, but it is something that is being done. So one of the things that you can do is look and see who it is that is sending this information, and then go to the internet, find their actual site and contact them directly. Fake charity accounts. There's a lot of adverts at the moment saying charities are not getting the money that they would normally do. They're charities that are often close to your heart. So then if you received an email saying, please donate to this charity, again, that's a way that people are scamming people out of money. Offers and discounts, another common one. Morrison's was mentioned by Dr. Barker, but there's also been Tesco's and other ones where it's like, come and get a coffee after the lockdown is over, or come and get a discount off, or we've got bread flour, or whatever it is that they think you might click on. And the other one, which people tend to be a little bit more wary of, are things like people impersonating legitimate banks or HMRC. But again, there's an increased likelihood that people will click, because the banks or HMRC might be sending things that they wouldn't normally send because there's a crisis, like where to go and link to put people on furlough, or where to claim for loans and things like that. So all of our needs are increasing our likelihood of clicking, and therefore the likelihood of a criminal's success. And in the first few months of this year alone, there were over 500,000 new scams and risks associated with those terms, COVID and coronavirus. So there are significantly more potential vectors there for attack. So one of the things that we are aware of in our security industry is, in this time of more attacks, there's also increasing risk, because a lot of businesses have had to open up their networks like never before, and a lot of their security professionals, or your security professionals, are actually working from home. Now, if you've got a network operations center or a security operations center, or you're not maybe big enough for that, a lot of the people would have access to a lot of tools that would help them keep your network secure. They might have a whole bank of screens that would normally be showing your risks on the network, which they don't have if they're working from home on a laptop. So essentially your team may have been asked to open networks and ports and access in ways that they hadn't planned for or prepared for or tested. And they may also be working in a more difficult to work in environment. So we understand that that happens, that the needs of the business sometimes move past the needs of securing your data. But as the lockdown is going on and currently is not showing signs of immediately abating, it would make sense to go back and, if you're a board member or something like that, check with that team and say, okay, can we now look at the technical controls? And these are things that are on Cyber Essentials. So they're the basics recommended by NCSC, our National Cyber Security Centre, on things that would protect your networks and your valuable data. So that's things like boundary firewalls, your internet gateways, the configurations, the sets of instructions on those devices that tell that device who to let in and who to block out, the access to those things, the malware, the patch management and things like that. So these are all security basics. The other thing that you may want to be aware of with that is those risks may not come from your own team. So again, there have been cases where because of the additional risks, people like managed service providers or your internet providers have actually set up things like administrator accounts so that they can check risk, but they haven't told necessarily the network managers they've done that. So again, these are basic questions that you may want to ask people if those things are outsourced. Have you set up any additional access points that we need to know about, etc. The other thing, as well as the technical controls, are the processes and the people. Your processes probably weren't set up to deal with this amount of remote working. So it's worthwhile looking at those processes and saying, okay, we've got people on furlough maybe, we've got people that are not part of the normal information flow anymore because they're restricted, they're not passing each other in the corridor, they don't necessarily know who's on holiday or not. How are we changing our processes to make sure that somebody can't spoof a payment provider or things like that? Some basic security awareness training is a very sensible thing to do, even if it's sending just some YouTube videos to people working from home, particularly if they've never had any security awareness training because it wasn't thought that they needed it. And social engineering training, particularly phishing. The video that we showed earlier and some things that I'll go into next are very, very simple, quick things to share with people that make them just that little bit more aware of having those emotional buttons pushed and just reduce that risk of clicking on things. So this is the sort of stuff that you can just send out in an email that is very accessible and again, produced by Sygenta and the team of people that are currently supporting the NHS in their own time as volunteers. So this is stuff that you can just send out. It's a beautiful PDF, it's free to download, and it's something that I would recommend that you send to team, particularly people that are maybe not security professionals, because this has examples of the sort of stuff that they might look at. It also talks about the sort of things that they might want to be aware of: emails, phone calls, WhatsApp messages, social media, all the kind of stuff that they may not be thinking of. They may just be thinking of their work emails. But of course, a laptop or a PC is all the same once you get in. So again, different sort of flavour of that, but this is one where it's purporting to be the NHS asking for donations. So you can imagine people spoofing Captain Tom, for example. This is the sort of stuff where people want to help, and it's really easy then to play on those emotional concerns that people have. So in terms of the security roundup, in terms of phishing, which is the most common way in, it would be to train your team. There are lots of things that you can do. I've shown you some ones that I think are particularly good that would help them watch out for emotional manipulation. Connection is something that is beneficial for two reasons. So one, when people are working in an office, and it was the previous times, they would know who's on holiday. They are familiar with how people talk. the normal way that somebody would present themselves. And the longer we're on remote working, the less familiar people are with that, and the more likely they are to click on something where somebody is impersonating somebody. So ensuring people are kept informed of holidays or somebody is on furlough is a really sensible thing to do to try and mitigate some of that. It's also a sensible thing to do because when people are feeling unsure or they're under mental health and well-being pressure, again, it makes them more vulnerable to this emotional manipulation. So putting connection time in for your team, like having quiz nights, having socials, having people get together for a lunchtime food and a drink is a really good thing to do commercially, as well as things that help people's emotional well-being and keep them efficient and productive and happy. So it's part of your duty of care and part of your security regime. Your processes are something that, obviously it's very difficult to go into on a generic call, but I would suggest that you start with things like your accounting processes. It's very quick to set up a text or something like that where there's some kind of phrase or something that isn't shared externally, or whatever you might choose to do. And obviously there are guidance things out there. NCSC is a great place to start in terms of processes that might need to be slightly different with people remote working. And of course, the phone call, which people often forget, is a really easy process to follow, particularly when you're making payments. Review your security and your access points, including external people like internet service providers and MSPs. There's a whole heap of stuff to do there. But the access controls that I mentioned earlier that you can review are a really, really basic and sensible place to start. Cyber Essentials itself is free to download the guidance of, and it's been proven that it can remove up to 80% of your risk. So it's really sensible to look at those basic proportions. So that's that for the presentation. If you've got any questions that you would like to ask, I'd be happy to answer them. If not, and you want to just contact me directly, then you can give me specific things that you may not want to share publicly, particularly if it's to do with your security. And I'm available on Cyber Go Giver on Twitter, or you can message me on my nicola.whiting@titania.com account. But my time is yours, so feel free to ask any questions if you're not overwhelmed and just kind of going, oh, I need to think about that, and there's so much to think about. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicola. Has anyone got any questions, anything they want clarifying a little bit further, anything you might want a little bit more information about? As Nicola said, as we've got her, now is the time to ask. Pop them into the group chat.
I'm also comfortable if you want to unmute people if they want to ask questions verbally, if they're not, I don't want to, if anybody's dyslexic or something, I don't want to limit them.
That's fine. If anyone wants to be unmuted, if you use the raise your hand blue icon, then I can unmute you and you can ask any questions. If not, Nicola, do you? Oh yeah, okay. Sorry, just had to give a chance.
Oh.
Nicola, can you see those, or do you want me to read them out?
So I've got a question of, are grants still available to support Cyber Essentials for business? So I'm actually not a Cyber Essentials provider, so I don't know. But the place to go for that would be, there's a site called IASME, which is actually based in, the owner of that, Emma Philpott, is based in Malvern, so she's local. And IASME are one of the national providers of Cyber Essentials, so they would certainly know, and happy to put a link in that. Are we sending out an email afterwards, so there's a link to the recording?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. What I think I'll do after, just because obviously you've kindly said that you can share some of your details if everyone wants to get in touch, I will, because this chat will disappear after, I will send everybody that's on this webinar a contact detail for you, and also the link to that, if you can give me that as well. So I'll send anything around we want to this group, that's fine.
In fact, if you type in NCSC and Cyber Essentials, because IASME are the primary provider of that, then it should just come up anyway, to be honest. But they're great people, and the download is free for the guidance. It's really easy to find that. Another one was, do you have any suggestions where we can get security awareness training from? There are lots of places that do security awareness training. I believe Sygenta, as well as the free stuff, do have some more security awareness training that are coming. James has said that there's some basic phishing training presentations that he's happy to share. So yeah, I think that's great. Anybody that wants to share stuff that they found, I'm always willing to learn to find new things. Another one that has come highly recommended to me is a company called Bob's Business. They do general security awareness training, and it's already designed to do things online. That's a paid one. So I don't know if they've got a trial or not, but it's certainly worth investing in it, because the cost, if you don't and haven't shown due diligence, is quite extreme, with GDPR still applying and things like that.
Okay, perfect. I think lots of people just saying thank you, really, just some good feedback. James, would you be able to send me, I think you've got my email address, could you send me the phishing presentation, and I'll include it in the group email that I'll send around to everyone, along with some of Nicola's stuff as well, just so that we've all got it. Thank you. And just while I've got everyone then, just want to say a huge thank you to Nicola for giving up her time this afternoon to share all of her wisdom and her advice. Thank you all for attending. I just wanted to let you know of 2 upcoming webinars we've got this week, in case you are interested. We've got a general networking event webinar taking place tomorrow. That basically just gives everyone the opportunity to do a 60-second around the virtual room introduction. So if you're missing out on networking and you want to have a general chit chat, then feel free to join that tomorrow at 12. And then tomorrow also in the afternoon, we are doing a webinar with Harrison Clark Rickaby's. That's going to be focused around technology and funding for entrepreneurs. But they have also said that they might cover a little bit of furlough in that presentation as well, just while we've got them. So if anybody does want to attend any of those webinars, just book online like you would have done for this one. And I think that's everything.
Yeah.
So
there is one more thing I was going to suggest. Action Fraud actually have something that you can sign up to, and obviously there's a lot of stuff in the moment that is coming out on the latest scams. I've done a roundup in this presentation, but there are always new ones unfortunately coming up. So Action Fraud is a good provider to find out, because that's linked to the police and people like that. And it's also the first point of call should you be unfortunate enough to have some kind of fraud that is levelled at you. So anybody who wants to report that so that it can get out to the wider community, I know they're always grateful for that. And obviously, as Titania, if people do want to look at one of those controls, which is the firewalls and those sort of infrastructure devices, we do have a free trial that you can just download, and it will do 2 devices. And if you think that it's worthy, then you can always buy more, but you can get 2 devices done. So if you're a very small business, you could probably check your firewalls that way and make sure that they're secure. So that's a useful thing to be able to do.
Thank you, Nicola. That's so very helpful. Thank you very much. Well, I think that is probably us wrapped up then. Thank you all very much for attending and for interacting and asking some questions on the chat. It's really nice to see a bit of engagement. Nicola and I were chatting earlier about how it can be quite difficult for speakers to kind of feel like we normally do when we're doing an event. It's just not the same without having the kind of face-to-face interaction you get with people. So thank you very much, everyone. And thank you again to you, Nicola. I hope everyone has a lovely rest of the day. See you soon. Thank you. Bye.